This bill is a racial profiling bill because there is no way to know somebody came into this country legally.
The focus of this bill is not to target individuals that are here legally. That is not at all the purpose of this bill, or the focus of this bill is to protect us from illegal immigration.
Extraordinary action taken this week on the floor of the Texas House. Action triggered by the uninvited and unauthorized entry of at least 7 million immigrants during President Joe Biden's term of office. Beyond frustrated by the administration's unwillingness to stop the onslaught, Republican lawmakers in the majority at the state capitol have taken radical measures by first voting to make simply being in Texas without documentation a state crime, and then authorizing all 80,000 peace officers in the state to detain, arrest, and potentially transport to the border those who failed to immediately produce proof of their legal status. Without the votes to stop the extreme measures, Democrats attempted to temper the legislation with exceptions in the form of amendments, including exempting victims at rape crisis centers from revealing their immigration status and triggering potential deportation.
We don't have a law on the book that says if you're a rape victim and you happen to not be a citizen, well, we're going to catch you when you come in the door. This is the first law I can think of that we're going to pass that targets the victim of rape.
Panel, that amendment and nearly all the rest failed in what Democrats viewed as an unprecedented blitzkrieg of overt xenophobia and fear-driven racial prejudice by mostly white conservatives pandering to the hard right. You agree with that assessment, Sergio Lira?
Absolutely. This is more political theater, pandering to the hard right. This is political posturing for the March primary. There are already laws in existence against any type of illegal immigration to this country. Why are we spending money? We're going to spend tons of taxpayer money fighting this in the federal courts. Federal government has the authority to control the borders. Why passing these state laws against immigration, illegal immigration, when they're already in the books? This is pandering to the hard right, and it's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money fighting this in the court.
Look, Bob Price, your voice is highly respected on this issue, and you took a pretty strong stand on this last week, saying that this is theater.
Well, it is somewhat theater, and I don't know that it's constitutional. You know, Sergio mentioned that this is the federal government's realm of responsibility. But this is neither radical nor extreme, as you mentioned in your lead-in. What's radical and what's extreme is the federal government refusing to enforce the laws that you've mentioned, that they have completely ignored these laws, refused to enforce these laws, made a deliberate decision to open the floodgates on our southern border. During the last 2 fiscal years that just ended September 30th, enough people crossed the border, were apprehended in the 5 Texas-based border sectors to more than replace the city of Houston. Then you throw in the number of gotaways on top of that, and you add another city the size of Corpus Christi, just in the Texas-based border sector. So something has to be done. The Texas government is responsible for our safety. You know, these items that the state reps brought up, they don't ask rape victim center people that come in, they don't ask them their immigration status. They're not going to ask them their immigration status. This is designed for the thousands of Texas DPS troopers that are down on the border, that are trying to enforce the law that the federal government refuses to enforce. They're trying to give them a tool. The only deterrent to stop people from crossing illegally is knowing that they will be sent back home.
All right, Charles Blaine, even if Republican lawmakers agreed with Bob that this is probably unconstitutional, there's no way they could vote against this, right? At least the messaging to Washington.
No, definitely. And I think, you know, policy happens on a pendulum. We've seen this with criminal justice reform. When it became too lenient, people swung back to the tough on crime stance. So now we see immigration being just kind of blown up over these past few years. So we swing to a more extreme, I wouldn't call it an extremist, but a more extreme version here in the state of Texas. But Sergio should be mad at his own party, because that's the problem. The reason that they passed these laws in Texas and places like Arizona, New Mexico, California, well, not California, but the reason that they passed these laws is because the federal government is falling down on the job, and they're not addressing it. So instead of directing your anger at the legislature, who, you know, whether constitutional or not, they're trying to have a conversation about this, be mad at the federal government, which has turned a blind eye to what's happening at the border.
All right, after years of reporting shoulder to shoulder with you, I now say to myself, what would Doug Miller do on this story?
What I do is go out and talk to average Houston police officers and sheriff's deputies and so on. I don't think they want this authority, to be honest with you. I'm not sure a cop on the beat's going to want this sort of thing on his shoulders to have to act independently, arbitrarily as an immigration enforcement agent. But I think about how many times we've covered stories about police abusing their power. One bad cop with a bad attitude here. Would this mean that a cop could just grab some citizen who happens to have, I don't know, maybe brown skin, who doesn't have an ID, say, come on, we're taking you to the border, go over there? How you gonna, I don't know how that's going to work. As conservative as the Supreme Court is, I just can't see the Supreme Court even saying this is in any way constitutional.
Doug makes a good point, Bill. The Arizona Show Us Your Papers law was found to be unconstitutional, I believe. What's your take on this?
I think it's unquestionably unconstitutional. There's 100 years of Supreme Court, authority that this is the exclusive purview of the federal government. But beyond that, this is just unworkable. I mean, show you proof of citizenship. Okay, I'm out jogging Memorial Park, actually more walking these days. I'm out walking Memorial Park and a cop comes up and says, Mr. King, prove you're a citizen of the United States. How would I go about doing that exactly? Well, can we go back home and get my passport? I mean, you don't carry around papers that prove
your driver's
you're
license?
Driver's license does not prove you're a citizen.
It proves you're here legally.
Well, not necessarily.
Yes, you can't get a driver's license if you're here
illegally. You can have a fake ID.
So you're going to throw somebody out of the country for not having a driver's license?
Well, I think
You're going to turn. Listen.
We're going to send you to the border.
Wait, even for the people that are here on a claim of as a refugee, okay, they are here legally. If they walked in, set a court date, they're here legally. They can't get a driver's license, they can't work, but you can't throw them out of the country, and anybody that does is going to get sued. Tremendous liability for the local governments that try to enforce this. It's just a bad idea.
Real quick, Bob, this is a cry for help, saying the Biden administration has hung us out to dry.
It is, and much like the busing of migrants to New York City and Chicago, Washington, D.C., it will change the discussion again on the national level, and I think that's the intent. Okay.